Hello, my name is James.
This is my audition tape for the His and Her protein supplement.
I promise I will give this my very best effort and do my very best job. His and Her protein supplements. Misleading consumers guaranteed. Did I get the job? That was called explaining how silly His and Her protein supplements are.
Performance art.
Welcome everybody to Shredded Sports Science. I am slightly stressed because I just saw Captain Marvel. Let's move on. I was going to title this video, I exercised and drank protein shakes and this happened. In 1 week, 10 pounds fast. That title was taken. So I thought I'd just call it Great Athletes Sell Garbage, because to be fair, that is factually what is happening. For example, this protein for women, which is apparently scientifically formulated just for women, and there are several great athletes endorsing it. And I don't think there's a need to name the specific companies that do this, but just know that this particular brand sponsors many great athletes and Brendan Schaub. Some of the most egregious fitness marketing is protein powder and then a protein for women or protein for her. And you also get protein for him and protein for her. And it's just stupid. Introducing Common Sense by Dr. Eddie Joe. There has been an emerging presence of gender-specific protein supplements such as whey protein for her. This type of marketing enables a false notion amongst consumers that there is a type of whey protein that is more beneficial or appropriate for women. Above is an example of two products from the same company. One of their whey protein products is specified as protein for women, while the other has no gender-specific designation. Upon examining the supplement facts label, it appears that both products are the exact same product. The only differences are the aesthetics of the packaging and yes, the cost. Believe it or not, the whey protein for her cost about $9.50 more than the same product that is not marketed specifically for women. What a load of tosh. If you choose to supplement with protein, you can get different forms of protein such as whey concentrate or the more filtered whey isolate or plant-based protein or casein protein, the slower digesting protein. But these whey proteins that are sold as His and Her are essentially identical products. All that's different is the packaging. And indeed, in some cases, there may be a few grams difference in the amount of protein between the men's and the women's so-called offering, but it's not significant. And indeed, when we think about our protein intake, it relates to our individual mass. And therefore, just separating it according to men and women in this generic form would, even in that sense, when it comes to the dosage of protein, not be something that could be accurately marketed in this way. And indeed, if there are too many grams of protein per scoop for your specific needs, then just take a lesser amount. Take a lesser amount in the scoop. Whey protein is whey protein. There is no men and women's form. Even VAR would get that one right. And what people need to understand is that I have a long history in the supplement industry. I used to work in a whey protein factory. Sadly, I did lose the job. I couldn't concentrate. And it was not an isolated incident. And so I'm going to come at you hard today with problems, but also solutions. And spoiler alert, the solutions involve you just continuing to work hard with consistency and saving your money. So disagreeing with the actions of famous and successful athletes is not the path of least resistance. I understand there may be a strong emotional response to this video because I may talk about one of the athletes that you admire. And just so we're clear, I'm also a big fan of many of these athletes. This is not about their athletic capability or their sporting performance. This is about the nonsensical products that they are choosing to push. And so let's start as we mean to go on. Let's take the red pill. Professional athletes, the pinnacle of elite capability, promoting junk food. Brilliant. Good job, guys. And so the Olympic Games is no longer sponsored by these junk food companies, but they were sponsored by them for over 40 years. And indeed, there is a whole plethora of elite athletes at the top of their sport who have endorsed junk food over the last decade. And there's actually emerging research into this issue and its visibility with young people and also how it may affect the health behaviors of young people. But just to be real, we don't need research to tell us that elite athletes promoting junk food ain't a good idea. It lacks common sense and integrity. And I'm pretty sure that Ronaldo does not binge on KFC buckets when he maintains his elite physicality, his elite athleticism, and his continued elite performance on the pitch. And I did talk about him promoting the ab machine in another video.
Make your choice.
Now, I know that Nick Cannon is not an athlete, but I had to put him in because he went all out for this picture. The legendary altitude mask looking sick in that photo.
Wicked sick.
The training mask does not reciprocate the benefits of altitude training because altitude training has to be a chronic process. The key point here is that putting on a training mask for 1 or 2 hours or however long your session is an acute short-term process, and that does not reciprocate the chronic and long-term effects of being at altitude. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, most likely messed up her name, is a great martial artist. Martial artists, combat athletes are some of the greatest athletes on the planet. Their discipline and their dedication to their art form, their athletic capability, performing so many skill sets. And I'm simply in awe of these athletes. And Joanna is a wonderful martial artist. Her striking is like poetry. However, the products she promotes, in my opinion, are absolute garbage. She promotes these sweating application products and waist belt, waist trimmer, sweat inducing belts, and it's completely unnecessary and it's redundant and it does a disservice to her as the great athlete she is. And you may be surprised to hear that no one wants to sponsor me. And indeed, I do not need an external sweating aid. My forehead does it all for me. And so essentially, these are designed to make you sweat more. And why would you want to sweat more? Well, not to lose extra fat, because of course, fat loss is not sweat loss per se, as I said in this video. Sweat is not fat loss, but sweat is correlated to the environment for fat loss, because sweat is a way of regulating the body's temperature. And when you're exercising, your body temperature increases. And when you're exercising, you're burning calories, and that leads to fat loss. Sweat is not fat loss. All that you're seeing here is water weight being lost. And you're going to replace much of that after the session when you drink or eat. And sweat, of course, is a byproduct of your training. Your focus would just be on training hard. The amount of sweat you're producing would be of no real significance if you are completing your workouts with the intensity required. However, there may be an application of sweat loss to cutting weight for these combat athletes, but that's not how this is being marketed. To be very clear, this is being mass marketed towards people to lose sweat during their general workouts, as seen in this post where she's talking about it after her fasted cardio. This is not being specifically promoted during a weight cutting session exclusively. And of course, weight cutting in combat sports is a very dangerous and controversial process. The reason they do this is to be as large as possible for their weight class. However, cutting weight, losing water weight, and combat athletes will do this in a sauna. They will do this using sauna suits, and cycling, for example, brings about risks. And we do have cases of people getting severe illness, fainting, injuring themselves, and even very sadly death. And so on to the part of the video that I know will elicit the most emotional response, because whenever I mention a bodybuilder in any capacity at all, and for example I show a picture of Phil Heath and Bruce Lee and say these people will have had different goals with their training, a very bland and factual statement, some of the emotional response I get to even mentioning a bodybuilder is greater than anything I've ever experienced, greater than any Thenx fans, for example, or V-Shred fans. And to those people, your mass reporting of the video did not work. YouTube did review it and they approved it. I'm not a bodybuilder, clearly. I'm not a bodybuilding expert. I have no real insight into what these people go through. I understand they have an immense discipline and dedication to what they do. I understand not everyone can do it. It's a very unique lifestyle. And Ronnie Coleman is most certainly a legend of that sport. However, he is pushing, in my opinion, a very poor product, which is this shrinking, toning, fat-burning cream. And indeed, with anything like this, these do not elicit a chronic and significant fat loss effect over time. These creams may have some sort of short-term thermogenic effect where they increase body temperature, and maybe you can externally increase the burning of a few extra calories through these products. But that is not going to sustain you or be significant over time. The way you are going to lose fat loss over time is by creating that caloric deficit through your training and your nutrition. Now, when it comes to really extremely low levels of body fat, That's not something I'm overly qualified to talk about. This product is not how bodybuilders get down to these very low 6-5-4% levels of body fat. They're dedicated to their training and nutrition, and there are certain other external aids which are under the table which contribute to this extremely low level of body fat that, to be real, your body does not want to get to or maintain. And so I understand that just by mentioning his name, I'm going to get a huge amount of pushback. But please, for those people, just tell me how indeed these products are a good product for health and fitness. And so I'm James Linker. This is Shred Sports Science. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.